chance, Lee. He a little boy.
I just said he's too young.
Too soft. Let's go. His weight's too soft. Hey, number 5 was like real number 5.
Real number 5.
Now is time for probably one of the more underrated parts of my offseason, where we don't really hear as much in regards to transactions and news. We're still waiting on Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and I'm assuming they're going to stay on the Brooklyn Nets at this point, but let me know in the comment section down below if you disagree. But this is still a very underrated part of the offseason nevertheless. It's when you start seeing players do more live runs, you start seeing more training sessions of these players, and hell, you're bound to see Ben Simmons shooting 3-pointers on Instagram sooner rather than later. I just feel it's coming. We haven't gotten it yet. It's coming eventually. I'm sure it's going to happen soon. But in this case, it seems like we had a very viral moment between two players that are up for very big seasons in the NBA that have had huge off seasons of their own right. So before we get to the content, man, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And if you want shorter versions of this content, make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok at TheFlightMike for both. Now that we've got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? This is actually going to be eerily reminiscent of a video we did a few weeks ago. Now, I'm going to admit this video is definitely more juicier and the storyline is way cooler than the previous one we did. But the one I'm referring to is obviously when Donovan Mitchell and Paolo Banchero got into a back and forth during one of Chris Brickley's live runs. And it was very simple, man. It was something as simple as Donovan Mitchell had a nice dunk on Banchero. Videos were rolling at the time. Banchero looks a little defeated. You may have heard Donovan Mitchell talk a little trash. Well, as a result, the very next sequence of clips we got was Banchero just playing his game, pulling up over Donovan Mitchell. And bear in mind, he has like 6 inches on Donovan Mitchell, and not that Donovan Mitchell's really known for his defense either, playing his regular brand of hoop and obviously showing off why he was the #1 overall pick. Bear in mind, man, this was an NBA draft that honestly anyone could have gone #1 overall. I mean, a few months ago, we were talking about Jabari Smith at the #1 overall pick. Then we were talking about Chet Holmgren before the season even started at the #1 overall pick, before it surprisingly became Banchero during the NBA draft. So I don't necessarily know if this is a situation where you're seeing a bunch of veterans from the NBA teaming up on Banchero because of him becoming the #1 overall pick, or if it's more because they just simply don't like his attitude. Which, don't worry, Dejonte Murray is going to tell us everything in just a sec. We just got to set the stage here real quick. While Banchero had a clearly very important offseason where he became the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft for the Orlando Magic, Dejonte Murray had the most important moment of his entire career just a little bit over a month ago, where the San Antonio Spurs officially traded Dejonte Murray, the crown jewel of their rebuild, to the Atlanta Hawks for multiple first-round picks, the totality being 3 first-round picks in a pick swap, and Danilo Gallinari, which of course they would eventually waive. Now you have to understand, when you're stuck on a rebuilding team for all of that time, and all of a sudden you go to a team that I wouldn't necessarily say is a championship contender, but at least you have some sort of direction moving forward. I mean, at the very minimum, at the very, very worst case, if the Atlanta Hawks just fall short of expectations, this is still a team that I expect to make it into the play-in and higher, at the very minimum, as a result of the Dejounte Murray trade. And I guess as a result of this, Dejounte Murray has just gone on a tear. A week ago, we saw Dejounte Murray pull up to the Drew League, and in the Drew League, he's had some pretty nice highlights so far, as would any professional basketball player playing against people that play in the Drew League just for fun, following a 9-to-5 job. Now, at the the same time, I understand you're a professional hooper. I understand even pulling up to the Drew and, you know, playing some games against people that aren't necessarily at the same level as you. After all, you need to keep your skills in check for the upcoming season, and I guess any type of basketball is better than no basketball, although you're not necessarily going up against the craziest competition in some of these games. But in some of these instances, man, you have Dejonte Murray pulling up against players that clearly don't play basketball for a living and doing like this, man. This is by far the most disrespectful and savage thing I've ever seen, and it's kind of like taking candy from a baby almost. Because on one hand, you have Dejonte Murray, who's a professional athlete, and then on the other end, you're just having some guy that's probably just excited to be guarding a professional basketball player. Which brings us to a very viral clip that we saw from Dejonte Murray and multiple Twitter outlets yesterday. Which, don't get me wrong, pretty freaking awesome play. Paolo Banchero looked like a fool on that play as well. So Dejonte Murray's move worked, and it went absolutely viral. I mean, everyone saw this on their feed last night. But what's interesting isn't necessarily just the play, which was awesome. It's what went down after this play. So at first we thought this was just gonna be a welcome to the NBA moment for Paolo Banchero, right? But Dejonte Murray didn't even story this. He posted it and said, "Welcome to the big leagues." Disrespectful, they said. Yeah, I know, which implies there may have been some beef involved. And then you see footage of Dejonte Murray trash talking Banchero throughout this entire Pro-Am game.
That's what y'all came to see. It's a man's league. He a little boy.
I just said he's too young.
Too soft. Let's go. He's too soft. Hey, number 5 was like real number 5.
Right, the real number 5.
Banchero actually validates the fact that this is personal because he posted this onto his story. LOL unfollowed me on the gram and everything. It must be personal. That's fine. Just make sure you guard up on me next time and stop sending doubles, family. There's a huge divide in the NBA in regards to sending double teams during Pro-Am games. I mean, you saw Devin Booker get upset about it a few years ago in the offseason, back when they were doing those drills at EULA. That could also be taken as an excuse. Well, Dejonte Murray clapped back at Banchero and said this, and this is apparently where the beef comes from. "You tried to flex that #1 pick on me when I've been rooting for you when you was a kid asking to rebound for me. At Paolo, don't get on this internet saying nothing. You changed from the humble kid you always was, and I stand on real shit, boy, and you know, you made it and changed, and I lost all respect. Stay humble. This life you in now is real, and you ain't no joke. I still want to see you win, because that's who I am." And that is such a backward message to give. It's like, I used to root for you, and then you made it and became the #1 overall pick. And then you got cocky because you're the #1 overall pick for the Orlando Magic. And as we were talking trash, it really got to me, so now I'm not rooting for you anymore. But stay humble because I still want you to win because that's just who I am. I don't know. I feel like Dejonte Murray is just trying to rationalize being a menace. It was a great play. I just find it really funny that Dejonte's out here talking about being humble, but there was literally a clip of him bouncing a basketball off the top of a regular average dude's head before scoring on him in a pickup game. So I don't know if this is just a heel turn for Dejonte Murray, or if he's just trying to rationalize being a menace, or if he's just excited now that he actually has purpose in playing the game of basketball because his team is actually competitive. All I know is I'm excited to see what happens whenever Paolo Banchero faces off against Dejonte Murray in real life, and I want to get your opinions in the comment section down below. Did you lose all respect for Paolo Banchero after this, or are you siding with Banchero over Dejonte Murray? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.